The boys are in action this Sunday as we take on St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup semi-final. In today's video, we will go over the build-up to that game whilst going over all the latest Celtic news from the last 24 hours, which includes a shocking Wright statement about the hoops. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Adam Virgo has opened up about one weird request Roy Keane made to him during his time at Celtic. Keane, who would end his illustrious career at the hoops, played alongside Virgo, but one moment in particular angered the Irishman. The pair shared a lift to a game one morning, with Virgo driving and Keane in the passenger seat. However, Virgo made a decision that in Keane's eyes was unacceptable. Virgo said, "So, Roy Keane came in January and he lived around the corner from me. I actually got to know him quite well. I didn't have his number, but he texted me and said, 'It's Roy here, can you pick me up and we'll go to the game together on the Saturday?' So I picked him up and I asked my missus at the time to sit in the back. He jumps in the car, sits in the front, we drive all the way there and nothing's really said. Then on the Monday he goes, 'Can I have a word with you?' And he literally went, 'Don't ever pick me up again with your missus in the car.' I thought he was winding me up, but he went, 'No, don't ever do that again.' It was a really weird thing. Fair enough if I sat him in the back and she was in the front. But he just went, 'Don't ever do that again. Don't ever pick me up with your missus in the car again.' I just think he just felt a bit awkward a little bit. I don't know why. I was chatting away to him and introduced names and stuff, and then it was off. But yeah, it was very odd. He had a right go at me. He never asked for another lift and I wouldn't have given him one," said Virgo. It's a strange story from Virgo, and it would certainly be interesting to hear Keane's side. The Irishman would no doubt have something to say about Virgo's comments. Keane is known for his straightforward approach to life, and if he becomes aware of the comments, he would likely be quick to respond. Now for the main story, former Celtic striker Wright has opened up about one moment he'll never forget during his time in Glasgow when he was the victim of intimidation tactics. Wright, who joined the hoops in the twilight of his career, had seen almost everything in football. He wasn't prepared for the intense pressure and hostility he would face as a Celtic player from the Rangers supporters. The Englishman was offered security, which he initially turned down, but he soon came to understand why a Celtic player might need a minder after one incident in particular. This is what he had to say. "When I was at Celtic, I had to have minders for the Rangers games. It was quite intimidating. It made me think, really, what do I need minders for? I remember one time I was coming out and someone slammed onto the bonnet of the car shouting, 'No surrender!' So I didn't come out of the hotel after that. I just thought, what's the point, as you don't know who you are going to bump into," Wright said. It's certainly a story that highlights how Celtic players have to be cautious about where they go and the potential consequences, something in all honesty they shouldn't have to worry about, but sadly, they do. Wright often speaks fondly of his time at Celtic, but it's sad to hear of this particular incident which clearly had a negative effect on him and left him somewhat shaken. In other news, former Celtic midfielder Lubo Moravcik has previewed this Sunday's Scottish Cup semi-final at Hampden against St Johnstone. With the Saints having recently beaten the Hoops, Moravcik was honest about how he feels the game will go. Moravcik, who is no stranger to a domestic treble, having won all three domestic honours in 2001, also highlighted Sunday as a massive opportunity on the road to completing a treble, with a win booking a place in next month's Scottish Cup final. Celtic will face the winner of Aberdeen and Hearts, who face off on Saturday, with the Hoops set to know who they could possibly face in the final ahead of Sunday. Moravcik said, "I watched the last game against St Johnstone, which was not a very good game, but I hope Celtic learn some lessons from that and take that into the Scottish Cup semi-final. With Aberdeen or Hearts' potential lying in wait in the Scottish Cup final, then you have to say that Celtic has another big chance to claim another treble. The Scottish Cup semi-final will be a hard game, but I just don't see St Johnstone beating Celtic twice in the space of a couple of weeks. Celtic also like playing at Hampden Park, and they usually turn up on the big occasion," Moravcik concluded. Sunday is undoubtedly one of the biggest games of the season for Celtic, and the stakes have been raised given the recent defeat to St Johnstone ahead of the semi-final, making it all the more intriguing. However, as last Saturday's performance against Kilmarnock at Celtic Park showed, Brendan Rodgers has been able to get a reaction since, with the 4 changes made ahead of the game making a huge difference, including bringing Greg Taylor back into the starting 11. The recent defeat to Simo Valakari's side will likely motivate the Hoops, and the experience of players like Greg Taylor and James Forrest can't be underestimated, with the pair playing a huge part in domestic dominance. In other news, Everton boss David Moyes made sure to credit Celtic when discussing Virgil van Dijk's new Liverpool deal, which runs until the summer of 2027. Van Dijk has arguably gone on to become the best centre-back in the world since leaving the Hoops, with the Dutchman often gliding up the pitch for Celtic in a fashion rarely seen from a centre-back. Moyes himself, who played for Celtic for 3 years from 1980 until 1983, always keeps an eye on his former side, making sure to remind the English media of Van Dijk's time at Celtic and the role it has played in the player he has become today. Moyes said, "He's been a terrific player for Celtic and he's certainly been a terrific player for Liverpool." It's great to hear Moyes name-checking Van Dijk's time at Celtic, as that often goes under the radar in England when discussing his rise to being on the verge of winning a second Premier League title. Neil Lennon and Ronnie Deila played their part in developing Van Dijk as a player, and Moyes will have seen the potential the Dutchman had all those years ago. Scottish football often doesn't get the credit it deserves, but Van Dijk's decision to leave the Eredivisie for the Scottish Premiership ultimately paid off before landing a move to Southampton. Former Celtic striker Andy Walker has questioned why the Hoops will have to go through Champions League qualifiers, with the English Premier League set to have 5 teams automatically qualified for the league phase. Celtic will go directly into the playoff round of the Champions path when they win the Scottish Premiership. However, Walker believes this isn't fair, given how many English teams will be in the competition compared to other top European leagues, where 4 teams automatically qualify. It means that Brendan Rodgers will be looking to get his summer business done as quickly as possible, with Walker highlighting what Celtic brought to the Champions League this season by reaching the knockout playoffs. He said, "I just wish UEFA could recognise the Scottish champions, get them into the Champions League. I mean, I'm a big fan of English football, but come on, that's 5 places now. You get 4 in Germany, 4 in Spain, 4 in Italy and 4 in France. The Scottish champions, I think, add to the occasion of the Champions League. Some of the nights, some of the sights and sounds that you see in Glasgow when Europe's elite come to our city, it's fabulous. And I just wish there was an avenue where the Scottish champions, whoever they are, could get straight into the Champions League. I think the competition would be better for it," he concluded. It's a spot-on point from Walker, one that many Celtic supporters will share, but sadly, with the rest of Scottish football failing to make their mark in Europe over the last decade, it has led to this situation. The formation of the English Premier League and the vast finances invested across the border over the last 30 years have meant that Scottish football has fallen behind. Celtic showed this season in the Champions League particularly that they can punch above their weight, causing real headaches for the likes of Bayern Munich and Aston Villa, with both reaching the Champions League quarter-finals. It just shows the level the Hoops are capable of competing against. What are your thoughts on these? Let us know down in the comment section below. Make sure you've liked this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content.